Ryan had been a software project manager for 11 years. Solid reviews every single cycle. No warnings, nothing. Then, in March of this year, he got a calendar invite from HR at 8 in the morning with no agenda listed. By 9, he was on a call with two people he had never met, and by 9:15, he was locked out of his laptop. His company cited AI in the termination paperwork, not restructuring, not budget cuts, AI. And that word is now showing up in more and more of those conversations across America. As of June 27, 2026, 267 confirmed layoff events in the tech sector have displaced over 185,000 workers this year alone. That averages out to more than 1,000 job losses every single working day. 2 years ago, AI was cited in less than 1% of U.S. job cuts. By the first quarter of 2026, that number had already climbed to 13%. This is not a forecast. This is already in the data. But here is what no one is telling you about what Ryan should have done with his money before that calendar invite arrived. Because the real problem was not losing the job. The real problem was that he had no financial buffer when it happened. And that part is entirely within your control. If you want real numbers to protect your money without the mainstream noise, this channel is built exactly for that. Hit subscribe right now, and every video we make goes directly to your feed. Before we talk about your money, we need to be clear about what the data actually shows, because the headline number is only half the story. Not every company calling these AI layoffs is being fully transparent about the real cause. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman acknowledged earlier this year that some companies are blaming AI for layoffs they would have done anyway, and that the two are not always easy to tell apart from the outside. The Yale Budget Lab found no macro-level evidence of mass AI displacement yet, and Goldman Sachs projects that unemployment effects will be transitory and no larger than 0.5 percentage point above trend. So why are we making this video? Because AI is not mostly killing existing jobs right now. It is mostly stopping new ones from being created. Entry-level job postings fell 15% year over year in 2026. Employment for workers aged 22 to 25 in AI-exposed occupations has dropped approximately 13% since late 2022. Software developer employment for workers under 26 fell nearly 20% since 2024, according to Stanford HAI data. Salesforce reduced its customer support division from 9,000 people to 5,000, while AI agents now handle half of all customer interactions. That already happened. And on June 22, 2026, Oracle became the first major technology company in history to tell federal regulators in a legally binding SEC filing that AI had directly caused reductions to its workforce. 162,000 employees to 141,000 in a single fiscal year. So here is the accurate picture. AI is not destroying all jobs overnight, but it is making it significantly harder to get a new one and squeezing entry-level workers off the career ladder. For specific roles in specific industries, the displacement is already real, already deliberate, and already documented in writing to federal regulators. The question is, does your financial life reflect that reality yet? Back to Ryan. He had about $2,400 in checking when he got locked out of that laptop. His monthly essential expenses were $4,200. He had 17 days of financial runway, not months, days. By week 3, he was putting groceries on a credit card. By month 2, he had missed a car payment. By month 3, when a new offer finally came in, he was so desperate to say yes that he accepted a role paying $11,000 a year less than his previous salary. That wage cut did not come from AI. It came from a negotiating position of zero leverage. And this is the financial trap that millions of Americans are walking into without realizing it. The threat of AI disruption is not only the job loss itself, it is what the job loss does to your credit, your savings, and your ability to wait for the right opportunity. When you have money, you have choices. When you do not, you have none. So let us build the financial architecture that gives you choices, starting with the most critical layer. The FDIC recommends an emergency fund covering at least 6 months of living expenses. Most Americans do not have it. The average American household spends approximately $5,500 per month on essential costs. A fully funded emergency fund for that household is $33,000 sitting somewhere you can actually access it. Here is why that number matters specifically in 2026. The average job search after a tech sector layoff is taking between 3 and 5 months for mid-career professionals. If you get laid off with zero buffer, you're making financial decisions under maximum stress in month 1. With 6 months saved, you are still making calm decisions in month 5. Those are completely different financial outcomes, and they trace back to one decision made before anything went wrong. Step 1 is to calculate your monthly essential spend: rent or mortgage, utilities, food, transportation, health insurance, and minimum debt payments. Add those numbers up. That single total is your target monthly number and the foundation of everything that follows. Step 2 is to open a high-yield savings account that is separate from your checking account. Top accounts as of June 2026 are paying between 4.0 and 4.4% annually. So your emergency fund earns something real while it waits. Step 3 is to automate a fixed contribution every paycheck. Even $150 per bi-weekly paycheck adds up to $3,900 a year. That is meaningful, compounding progress that happens whether you remember to do it or not. And here is the part most people skip over entirely. The worst-case scenario is not losing your job to AI. The worst case is losing your job while your investments are also down, forcing you to sell assets at a loss out of necessity. People who had no emergency fund during the 2023 tech layoff wave were forced to crack open retirement accounts and pay 10% early withdrawal penalties on top of ordinary income tax. An emergency fund is the wall that prevents you from ever being in that position. 3 months of expenses is a floor. 6 is the real target. For freelancers or anyone in a high-exposure role, 9 months is not paranoia. It is appropriate risk management. Ryan had one income stream: his employer. When that stream was cut, his entire financial life stopped at the same moment. The goal of income diversification is simple. Make sure that when one source is interrupted, you are not instantly at zero. And the same AI tools driving some of these layoffs are simultaneously lowering the barrier to building income outside of a 9-to-5 more than at any prior point in history. McKinsey's 2025 State of AI found that 71% of organizations now regularly use AI in at least one business function. The demand for people who can help businesses actually use these tools is already there and growing. The question is whether you are positioned to capture any of that demand independently of your current employer. A secondary income stream does not require you to start a company or quit your job. It could be freelance work in your existing skill set offered to clients outside your company, a digital product built once and sold repeatedly, or dividend income from a long-term brokerage account. On that last point, if your employer offers a 401k with a company match and you are not contributing enough to capture the full match, that is leaving part of your compensation on the table. The match is a guaranteed 100% return on day 1. But even beyond the 401k, a modest, taxable brokerage account invested in index funds creates dividend income that flows regardless of your employment status. None of these need to replace your salary. The math here is about runway, not replacement. Even $500 a month from a secondary source changes your negotiating position when a layoff hits. You are no longer at zero. You have time. Build these streams now, while you have a salary, because the people who try to start after the notice arrives are already negotiating from Ryan's position. Here is the number that should reframe how you think about learning right now. Professionals with AI and machine learning skills are earning between 15 and 25% more than their generalist counterparts in the same roles, according to Anita B's Tech Job Market 2026 report. On a $90,000 salary, a 20% premium is an extra $18,000 a year. That is not a rounding error. That is a different financial tier. And here is what most coverage gets wrong. You do not need to become an AI engineer to access that premium. Employers in 2026 are not just looking for people who build AI systems. They are looking for a financial analyst who uses AI to accelerate modeling, a marketer who can interpret predictive customer data, a supply chain manager applying AI to logistics. Your domain expertise is the moat. AI fluency is the bridge that keeps it relevant. 77% of professionals enrolling in structured upskilling programs this year come from non-technical backgrounds, according to Great Learning's 2026 analysis. Finance, operations, marketing, HR professionals are all moving in this direction. The market is telling you something loud with that number. So what does this actually cost at the individual level? A Google Career Certificate on Coursera costs roughly $200 to $300 and can be completed in a few months. Specialized boot camps focused on AI applications run between $1,000 and $5,000, depending on depth. Budget it the same way you would budget any other investment. If a $300 course results in a 10% salary increase this year, it is one of the highest return investments you will ever make, with a payoff timeline measured in months, not years. The risk of not making that investment is also measurable. It is the salary you do not earn and the opportunities that go to someone else every single year you delay. This channel does not do fear without the full picture. So here is the full picture. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report 2025 projects that 170 million new roles will be created globally by 2030, while 92 million are displaced. That is a net positive of 78 million jobs. Goldman Sachs, the IMF, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics all project net positive job creation over the medium term. New categories are forming right now: AI safety and governance, infrastructure maintenance, automation management, applied AI roles that blend domain expertise with tool fluency. This transition will ultimately create more than it destroys. That has held true across every major technology shift in history. But the transition itself is the variable. And during transitions, the financial gap between people who prepared and people who did not becomes very visible, very fast. The personal financial moves we have covered today are not about assuming AI wins. They are about making sure you are stable, regardless of how this plays out or how long the transition takes. Let us make this concrete. Step 1 is to know your actual risk level. Go to ONET Online, the Department of Labor's occupational database, and search your job title. It maps which of your specific tasks are currently automatable and at what degree. This is not a verdict on your career. It is information that helps you make smarter decisions about where to invest your time and money. Step 2 is to calculate your emergency fund target. Multiply your essential monthly expenses by 6. Then divide that number by 24, the paychecks in a year on a bi-weekly schedule. That single figure is your per-paycheck contribution amount. Open a high-yield savings account today, set the automatic transfer, and let time do the work. Step 3. Identify one income source outside your primary job and spend 30 days testing it before you judge the results. One freelance project, one digital product listed somewhere, one brokerage account with an index fund position. Small, real, started. Step 4. Identify one AI-related skill that applies directly to your current role and spend 30 minutes a day actually using the tool on real tasks in your field. Not watching videos about it, not reading articles about it, using it. That is what separates people who say they know AI from people who can demonstrate it to a hiring manager. Step 5. Know your health insurance math before you need it. If you were laid off tomorrow, COBRA lets you continue your employer-sponsored coverage, but you now pay both your share and the employer's share. Know what that monthly number would be and factor it into your emergency fund calculation. This is the detail people always miss until they are staring at a COBRA paperwork packet and realizing their runway is 3 weeks shorter than they thought. The shift happening in the labor market right now is real, and it is moving faster than most financial content acknowledges. But the people who come through it in the strongest position are not necessarily the ones with the highest paying jobs today. They are the ones who built a financial cushion, diversified their income, and invested in staying relevant before the disruption found them. That is entirely a choice you can make right now, today, before any calendar invite with no agenda shows up in your inbox. If this breakdown gave you something real to act on, share it with one person in your life who is in a role that AI is reshaping right now. It might be the most useful thing they see this week. The wealth metrics, real numbers, no noise.